Welcome back to Swanson's Garage. I'm a glutton for punishment. I emptied off that top shelf to do a little cleaning up there. I've been kind of studying these sheet metal projects, trying to figure out how we're going to make these things. We got to make gas tanks, got to make oil pans, because they're rough. There's nothing left of these, hardly a template. So we're going to basically be building them from scratch. We're not tearing into that yet, but I kind of wanted to just wrap my brain around what we have in store. Mainly because I didn't feel like cleaning parts. So sometimes if you don't feel like cleaning, you can at least do some thinking. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of planning and thinking involved in reproducing these oil pans. So I think the first step is to kind of straighten them out to get some type of a pattern. This one ain't much good. Not much left to it. So I'm going to kind of use this one as my template. The Michigan one is a halfway decent template too. So I might bring that one back if I ever get home. Still waiting on roads to get better. That one actually has enough of the filter screen for the oil pickup intact as a template too. Where these, it was gone. There's not even anything to go by. So at least we got some type of a pattern on the Michigan tractor. So as crusty as that one is, it's sure lending a lot of parts and information to this 1525 build. So obviously this bottom has been kind of caved in and I don't have access to pop it back out with that baffle in there. So I think my first step is to see if I can carefully remove that baffle without making much more damage than what it already is, so I can pop that out to get a better template. I think this baffle is supposed to be flat, or relatively flat. I'm guessing maybe freezing water over the years in the lower pan has pushed it up, because I can't imagine, it can't be like that, right? I mean, the rotating assembly would hit it there. It's got to be down at least that level. You can, hopefully the camera's showing how, yeah, maybe that'll show you better how puckered up it is. So that'll be interesting making those baffles too. I don't know, maybe once this baffle is cleaned up and straightened out, we could reuse that. It doesn't look like it's too rotten, but we won't know until we get it out and cleaned up. But making a new one, that'll be kind of fun. We'll have to do some little forming and slitting. These are spot welded and it's been torn right through. That's why I think this has all been puckered up. And the spot welds are tore right through, so they're still intact in the back. For future reference, this side is about 3.5 from the lip to the lip, or 4.5 from the bottom to the lip. 3.5. It's kind of bent, but probably close to 4.5. You're just kind of, it's a little bigger on that side. 3 3/4. Or 4 3/4 to the bottom. Wonder if that's supposed to be like that, or if they were just willy-nilly put together quickly and not that accurately. I don't think see if I can separate these spot welds and get that baffle out as my first step. Well, I know it's not the proper use of a chisel, but this is an old junk chisel anyway. So I just did that, whacked it a little bit, and broke all the spot welds off. Now I think we can pry that out of there. Yeah, okay, baffle's out. Let's roughly whack things back into the shape they're supposed to be, and then we can study it a little bit more. What a disaster. So I got the thing kind of roughly, sort of, maybe a little bit kind of beat back into shape. But it's pretty bad. I don't even know if we have a really decent template at this point. I mean, because basically it's not even attached anymore. I've been making some witness marks where I can tell the pieces line together. What I'll probably have to do is just start taking like strips of sheet metal and, like, you know, zip screwing it, little band-aids back on there to kind of hold things together where we know they go together, and then maybe kind of start filling in the dots in between. Because the problem is this thing was so crunched in, well, you've seen it, that it's hard to even know exactly what it was before it was smushed. But at least now I kind of know what we got or what we don't got, so I can start percolating ideas as far as how we're going to reproduce this. I'm not sure what the best way to do this is going to be, and that's, I guess, part of the reason why I started this a little bit, just so I can start thinking about it. I'm not sure if the best would be to make like a wooden buck of the inside shape of that, so a guy can form a new piece of sheet metal over the top of it. I guess in my mind, what we're going to do is, once we kind of know what shape it's supposed to be, is take like a paper pattern, lay over this, and, you know, start making slit marks to figure out what shape it is flat. Like, you know, probably this will be one piece here, and then it'll be slit like there. This part will be hinged on it, like wrapping a present, right? There'll be a slit there where that corner and that corner will come together, and we'll weld that up. Same with like this corner here. Once it's together, bend that edge of that one, and then weld that corner up. Is kind of where my mind is going as far as fabricating, but I am not a sheet metal or welding guy by any means, so this is going to be interesting, because it's of course nothing is straight square either. I mean, we got the sides are pretty flat, but they taper ever so slightly, because you think when they made this, it was a great big punch press, right? So they just ka-chunk stamped it out. So it isn't going to be just straight sides, because they got to be able to pop that piece back off of the form, the mold, when they're done stamping it. So there's going to be a little bit of relief on everything. But we'll be able to at least get some locations for drain plugs and fill or water lines, oil lines. Luckily these are good shape, so those will be a good template for making new ones of them. All that is really good templates. Some of that we might even actually be able to reuse the pieces potentially, like maybe that one use over again, that formed flanged piece. That might clean up and be alright to use over again. It would save us some fabricating. And roughly stomped out that to be somewhat flat again. That one should be pretty straightforward as far as making that. Like I said, I'm assuming that should be just a flat piece, bent on either edge. A few of these little scoops or whatever you want to call them, a couple of holes. That's pretty straightforward there. That shouldn't be terrible to make. But all these corners, that's where the trickiness is going to be. Anyway, any suggestions? I'm all ears. Leave a comment below. Well, that gas tank was too difficult, so I chose something simpler. Simpler, you say? Sure. By comparison, to me, this end panel on the gas tank is simpler. I've been kind of percolating that one in my brain for quite a few months now, so I had some idea how I was going to do it. I got started on it here today. I'm making up my pattern. No guarantees this will all work, but I'll let you kind of in on what I'm thinking here. So I got this partially done. I just have to finish these 4 blocks like these, taper everything to match the original tapers here. Of course, you can see I reverse engineered what size and shape these are, because these all taper and nothing is straight. And of course the whole thing is concave in both directions. So figuring all that out has been interesting. But my logic is I'll get those like these. I'll take this part and cut that down to fit as well to get that next step. This step here would be this step. So my logic is I will take a piece of tin, put it on here, sandwich it in between that and here, this piece. I will either bolt or clamp this all together, and then I will take a air hammer with like a flat, like a 1-inch round flattening bit on the end of it, and start hammer forming this until it makes this shape. Hopefully that works. And then once I have that formed, I will take this one off. I will take, I don't know if I can do it with one hand, these ones off. I have these with little locating dowels. Oh, come on, come off of there. Those will come off, both sides. And then I will take this and put it on with my tin still in there. Well, first I'll trim my tin so it sticks out a 1/2 inch past my form here to allow for, so this is hemmed over to the back side. So I need to allow material. This piece here has a lip on the edge of it, and then this goes around that lip, and then it's all soldered together. So I'll trim my piece 1/2 inch bigger, and I'll put this back on, clamp it on in place to hold it, and then I will hammer that tin down to get my 90-degree lip. And then once we have the rest of the tank formed, don't ask me how we're going to do that yet, I haven't got that far. Once we get that part formed, you put it together, it'll be this far, and then all we have to do is fold it the rest of the way under and then solder it in place. So that's my logic. Whether or not this works remains to be seen. But that's how I plan to do this. Go ahead and leave a comment below if you think I am doing this all wrong, or if you got a suggestion how this could go better or whatnot, because I'm all ears. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. Well, we're getting there. I think I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead tonight. It's already whatever past 9:30. Not fun for one day. It's all these pieces are still just loose sitting in there, but I'm pretty happy with how things are coming together. I'm going to sleep on whether or not I should knock these corners down a little bit. Probably. So the steel kind of rounds that way a little bit too. And, you know, it naturally will, I guess. I don't know how much to round that. And I'm maybe made a little whoops here. Not sure. Like here, I'm not sure if maybe I should have tapered these. I made them the same the whole way. So I'm concerned if this is going to be too much of a drop off there, or if that'll kind of blend together. I suppose it depends on how much I hammer it too. I have to sleep on that one too. See what I think. Look at it with a fresh set of eyes in the morning. And okay, I finished up the form here this morning. I ended up putting a little 1/8 inch round over on these edges and these edges. Left the outside sharp. I just glued and nailed them in place, so I think we'll let that dry, and then after lunch we will maybe try a proof of concept, see if this is actually going to work. I got some 18 gauge steel ordered yesterday. Unfortunately that won't be here until maybe next week, depending on weather and the holidays now. I might get screwed up. But I rounded up a scrap of, I think it's 20 gauge I had laying around. So at least for a proof of concept, I think we'll try that just to see if it works. Picked up a new tool here this morning. Air hammer, and like I was saying, basically a flat, what do they call it? Flat face, 1-inch face smoothing hammer. So give that a try. So, brap. Should be fun. Okay, proof of concept, test 1. It is not a complete victory, but it's definitely not a fail. So I just put this piece of, like I showed you, scrap, I think it's 20 gauge, so it's thinner than what we're going to be using. That's all I had on hand. It definitely worked, but there is a ton of hammer marks from the air hammer. I think what I might do, because this has got, you know, kind of a chamfer on the edge of it, I might take and grind this more of a gradual radius on the corner. I'm thinking that might help get all those little hammer marks from being in there. Of course, I could only get, you know, I can't get the corners tight, so they looked like that, not perfect. But all I did was take the corner of my body hammer and kind of work those corners a little bit, and that sharpened them up. So I think that's doable. We can address that issue. I'm gonna, I think, take it out now and try the next step as planned, to cut it and try hemming that edge over to see if that's going to work as well. Yeah, I think it's a victory. What do you think? Yeah? Okay, next step. So I had that clamped down like that. I hammered down the lip all the way around, and then I folded that lip rest of the way over. Of course, it wrinkled here on the end like expected. I knew it was going to do that because it needs to be shrunk. So either I'd have to cut some relief slits in there, or get myself a shrinker, and then that issue will be alleviated. I'm not too worried about that. And then once it's all soldered together, the solder is going to hide a lot of that too. But I know we can do better than that. Right, puppy? You want to be on YouTube? Hello, hello. So I think as a proof of concept, I think we're doing okay here. I think I'm going to, like I said, try modifying that hammerhead a little bit, rounding it, and then maybe I'll do another test to see if that improves upon, because if it didn't have all these dents, I'd be feeling really good about how it's turning out. But otherwise, that's going to be a lot of metal shaping to get all those dents out of there to make it nice enough for paint. Maximum use of available resources. So I wanted to dress this end, right? Well, I don't have a lathe here, so put it in the drill press. I took my little air grinder, turned the drill press on, and dressed it up where I put a nice little radius on there instead of that chamfer that it was. So we'll see if that works better now. I think it should. Doesn't like to focus like that. Okay, version 2 is slightly better than version 1. Still got a lot of improving to do. I think rounding those edges on the hammer did help a little bit, but there's still a lot of hammer marks. And I think that's kind of inevitable with this process. Kind of learning, I regulated the air way down on the hammer this go around, and that seemed to help kind of go a little bit smoother. It doesn't look like it, but it really is compared to the first one. I learned I gotta kind of sneak up on the edges, because if I try getting them right away, like this one got all boogered up, it get like kinked. You gotta kind of ease into it a little bit. I don't know, it's hard to explain. We will pick back up on this part of the project when we get some actual material in. Until then, we'll move on to something else. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think.